Twisted Humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alecia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked.
Welcome to episode 102, part 1. We are on our serial killer this week after a couple heavy weeks and some circus crimes, but we are here. We are restarting. I'm sorry to say, guys, it doesn't get lighter from here, but you know what you signed up for. Before we get into this week's serial killer, though, Sierra, do you have a fun fact for me?
I do have a fun fact. My fun fact is, did you know that Viking men wore makeup?
No. That's cool.
The website I got this from says, it's no doubt that Vikings were some of the toughest men in history books. However, they cared about their appearance enough that makeup was a part of their everyday routine. And I love that because Viking families were also very matriarchal. And so it kind of shows that at least some point in history, roles were reversed and it was a good thing.
Right?
Viking times need to come back. Let's be Vikings again.
I mean, other than the chainmail and the wearing of the animal skins, I can get past it. Other than that, I hope that's not too big of a tweak, but I always think of How to Train Your Dragon. I'd live in that time.
Oh my gosh.
That's like Viking times, right? But it's like, I want a pet dragon if I'm going to do it.
Yeah. What is your fun fact?
So this past weekend was a long weekend that we're recording this on, and I had an urge to do as much cleaning as possible. My fun fact is about cleaning. Okay. So did you know that the average woman cleans for 12,898 hours in her lifetime versus a man of 6,448 hours in his lifetime? Which I thought was kind of perfect. You just said, role reversal, let's go back to Viking times. Can we also role reverse that? That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great.
We have one more week of dry February when we are recording this episode. However, this episode does come out in March. So we were experiencing a little bit of a pickle this week. So we wanted to talk about next week's wine, try it next week, and then make the sangria right away so that we're able to rate both and we're not cheating. So
right.
We are drinking Air Bunnies.
Planning to drink.
Yeah. Natura Rosé. This is a wine from Chile. We've covered this winery before, but I believe it was a white. And this one in particular is fresh with grapefruit and scented flowers, followed by nectarines on the palate. It's an elegant and supple rosé from organically grown grapes within Chile, and it's also a vegan wine, if anyone is wondering. A lot of the reviews said it was sweeter, so I'm really excited to try it.
First of all, I posted it on our Patreon, but I wanted to update everyone. The story that I covered in October of 2021 about Brittany Renee Williams, there had been an update recently that we haven't touched on, and it is that the woman who came forward, who had her DNA tested against Brittany Renee Williams' sister, after deeper DNA testing, they found out she is not the missing girl, Brittany Renee Williams. So Brittany is still missing, unfortunately. She may be a distant relative of some type, but they are not the same person. So that's sad.
So sad.
Also wanted to touch on the tragedy that is unfolding in East Palestine, Ohio right now. It's a fucking mess. I do have family in Ohio. However, this is happening in Northeast Ohio. My family is all in Southwest Ohio. Hopefully they don't get any fucking acid rain. But I do want to point out that there was a movie made 8 months ago. It was a Netflix movie. It was called White Noise. I haven't watched it. It was like a thriller, whatever. And it was about a train derailment that produced a chemical spill in East Palestine, Ohio. The people who are in Ohio right now experiencing this tragedy were extras in the movie. that is about the thing that happened in their life. And so I'm not going to go on some weird conspiracy tangent right now, but I do want to say that manifestation is fucking real. Okay, they manifested this fucking accident, so please do us all a favor and manifest good thoughts for those people.
100%. No, a much appreciated rant. Oh, yeah, definitely sending happy, positive, healing thoughts. We are not going up from here, guys, I'm afraid to say. I did want to say before we get to a commercial break, I have a correction that needs to be made. So we recently joined Weirding Way Media that was founded by our friend Cristachio and Father Malone. He hosts Chronicles from the Crypt, Dreams for Sale, The Twilight Zone, etc. So he was listening to our show, episode 99, The Poodle King, and I mentioned that the place that Jerry Souls used to trapeze at the Circus in Vegas wasn't still running. I would like to say that it is still running, according to Father Malone. So thank you for correcting that. When I looked to see if they were still having performances, the last article that I saw was around COVID time and it said no. So if it is back and running, awesome. Love it. I apologize for that. But anyways, we are going to get into this week's case. But first, we are going to take a quick break to hear a promo from Unholy Gossip Girls. And we'll be right back. On January 18th, 1981, Sherry Hall and Beth Wilmot arrived at their usual Sunday cleaning job at the Transamerica Title Building. They were 20 years old and best friends, which is what makes these next events even more tragic.
I just remembered. Sorry. I knew we were covering this, but I remembered that I already read this book, and now I'm flashbacking, and oh my god. Okay,
Sierra's gonna cry,
I need
guys.
to re-prepare. Whew, okay.
It's the first sentence, I'm sorry. We're starting off with a bang here. On this particular day, they were running later than usual, and they got there around 9 p.m. They weren't worried, though, as cleaning these offices never took long. Just before 10 p.m., 911 dispatchers would receive a call from a distressed and gravely injured Beth Wilmot, stating that there had been a shooting. She didn't know if the man was still in the building, to please hurry, and that she had been shot in the head. Not long into her recovery, Beth would undergo police questioning to try and identify her attacker. Tragically, Sherry would not survive the shooting.
Beth Wilmot was shot in the head.
Called 911.
And lived?
Yeah, she's a bad bitch. Sadly, though, but, like, you're living with survival's guilt, I imagine, a little bit, and a lot of trauma based on what just happened. So you're surviving at what cost? But she is truly a bad bitch. She described the man as being white, in his mid-20s, between 5'11" and 6 feet tall, a slender build with dark hair, wearing a leather waist-length jacket with a hood over his head and a bandage over his nose. And she remembers that much detail after getting shot in the head. So, in Beth's words, quote, "We were almost finished. Sherry went outside to her car, and I still had a little bit of cleaning left to do. I was just rounding a corner, going towards the entrance, when I saw Sherry and this man walking towards me. He had a long-barreled gun in his right hand, and he took us to a room. Trigger warning. He told us to take off our clothes, and he wouldn't hurt us. He made us lie down on the floor. We did that, and then he shot Sherry in the head, and then he shot me. I pretended to be dead, and I could hear Sherry moaning. Then I heard another shot. And I heard the man leave. When I was pretty sure he was gone, I crawled towards the phone in the office and called the fire department." And she had never seen this man before.
Jesus.
Dave Komanek and Jay Bootwell were the two detectives assigned to Beth's case. Little did they know that it would become one of the biggest chases of their lives to catch the man responsible. They were not the only police department that were looking for the man dubbed the I-5 killer. In case anyone was wondering who we're covering today, I just came in with a bang on that one. Sorry. Randall Brent Woodfield was the third child born to Walter Jack Woodfield and Donna Jean. He had 2 older sisters, Nancy and Susan, but his parents really wanted a boy, and they got their wish on December 26th, 1950. This was the time of perfect all-American families following the Second World War, where young girls would go off to college and marry established businessmen, and the men would go into business or become star athletes.
Fucking boomers were
You
born
can
at
just
this time.
picture that like old-timey news reporter voice, and it was like on the TV, and it's like black and white but kind of colored, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. You looked at me really funny, and I was like, oh
No,
God, she doesn't know.
I'm just in disgust.
I'm in a place in my head that I hope everyone followed me to, otherwise it just sounded like a psycho. Anyways. Growing up in Salem, Oregon, Randy was essentially a perfect baby and would grow into a handsome young man. His parents had raised him to be a perfect all-American boy, but as we know, things are always far from perfect. Randy started to feel a deep resentment towards his 2 sisters, as they were frequently allowed to do things that he wasn't. Not just because he was the youngest, but also because he was a boy. Boo-hoo.
By the way, can we please call him Randy for the entire time, because he hated that.
Yeah, he did hate that. I just had to say what his real name was.
Right,
and now he's
right.
Randy from here on, for sure.
Yeah. Fuck you, Randy.
Absolutely.
Hope you can hear me.
His mom was the disciplinarian in the family, and Randy found the punishments upsetting, of course, but he was humiliated because he felt like he disappointed his mom, and he wanted to please her, have her see him as a good boy. Why can't I speak? He started placing his self-worth against how much he pleased his mom. So already we've got some very confusing feelings on women, some resentment, needing approval, and then he's hitting puberty. All of this is not good.
And this is not even anything that his mom put on him. This is nature,
something he has
not
instilled
nurture.
in himself. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
He's
his parents
fuck.
are encouraging him to, live up to his potential and do the best that he can, but not in a I'm expecting this out of you kind of way.
Right.
I think it was also just like 1950s parenting. Like, there's a certain expectation that goes with that, but this is
I disagree.
overdue.
I think 1950s parenting was fucking chaos. They were way too easy on their children.
Really?
That's why we have boomers today. Have you met a boomer? They fucking suck. They're entitled and spoiled brats.
Hopefully,
no offense.
None of our listeners are boomers. If you are, I mean, you're obviously a cool one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I very much agree that this is a product of his own mental health being like, this is what needs to happen.
This is just him.
And we can feel bad for the younger versions of these people, but that does
Not
not
this
change what happened.
He didn't do he wasn't abused or anything.
No,
he was just born a fuck. That's all.
The ultimate fuckboy, as we've decided that this character is called. Like that meme. You got to stop giving serial killers cool nicknames. Like, not the I-5 killer, fuckboy. Just
not even. That's too cool. He's just fuck. Fuck. You are fuck.
I think that would get confusing in the news, but yes. So his psyche on women already is upsetting.
Yeah.
He started exposing himself to women. He wanted to prove his manliness and also reveled in their reactions, gasps, screams of horror, etc.
Disgusting.
And then he would run away before getting caught. This was just brushed off and no consequences were ever met during this early time. But it started to become a problem when he got a little bit older and would finally be arrested. His parents completely denied that this sexual depravity was ever a thing, when questioned later on in our story. Randy began dating and found that he liked younger girls more. He also liked his girlfriends to wear jeans and t-shirts and was horrified if they ever wore anything quote-unquote sexy. So already controlling, further complicated.
There's no word that comes to mind except for fuck. Like the worst version. Fuck means a lot of things.
If you guys are not doing
version
dry
of
February,
the word,
I guess this is March. Drink anytime Sierra says fuck for the rest of the when we listen to it later, we'll play. The word
is this person. Sadly, he reminds me of a child that I knew years ago.
Oh no,
and it's disgusting.
Should we check on this person?
I don't know his last name.
As a grown-up?
I've wanted to. Oh, he's still a child. He's my child's age.
Okay.
Yeah.
You scared me. I'm like, do we have a serial killer out there that Sarah knew?
We might soon.
We need to stop him. Oh, God. Yeah, this is not good. Randy graduated high school and got a job cleaning and repairing telephone booths at Pacific Northwest Bell, which, like, again, what are the early 1900s? And by early, I mean mid.
Oh, my God.
But, like, that's a job. Repairing and cleaning phone booths. Like, you wouldn't see a phone booth.
They gotta be repaired.
I know. It's just wild to me.
Yeah.
Wild times. He also started to attend classes at the Treasure Valley Community College. He held a 2.5 GPA, but was the captain of the varsity football team, so you could see where his priorities were. He began dating Sharon McNeil after meeting her at school, and he fell for her hard. They dated for a few months, but then broke up, and Sharon found him to be too intense, too much. A few days after the breakup, Sharon's room had been completely trashed, and things that he had given to her were missing, so they attributed him to the crime. He was arrested for this, but was found not guilty, as it was only circumstantial evidence that it was him. Remember when we said that Randy liked younger women? Well, he started dating Tracy Connors around this time, who was an 8th grader. She worshipped Randy at the time, and while the two never had sex, they fooled around, and sorry, that's illegal, sir. Randy liked younger women because they were less intimidating and easier to control, so that's great. It's great to want in your women. Even after all of the crimes that he would go on to commit came out, Tracy couldn't believe it, because he had always been so nice to her. But they always are. Randy really wanted to pursue a career in football and found that not a lot of scouts were coming to Treasure Valley, so he decided to enroll at Portland State University. Obviously, the team were thrilled to have him because he was so good. During this change, Randy had gone from being sort of a prankster, funny, and ambitious to a very quiet, mild-mannered, religious man. It was almost as if he was trying to suppress demons that were building within him. He continued to expose himself to women and had a wider range of people to do it to in Portland. He would leave the scene so quickly, and women often didn't report it. Also, it helped that he wasn't your typical exhibitionist. Randy looked like he would have no trouble getting girls and was traditionally handsome. So why was he doing this? Being thrown off guard helped him evade getting caught for so long. On August 7th, 1972, he was finally arrested, but received only a suspended sentence. So basically, if he abided by the new rules set in place for him, he wouldn't be convicted or serve time. So he just had to follow the rules. Start by following the rules. Ugh. He would continue exposing himself, though, and He would continue exposing himself, though, and got caught and arrested again in June of 1973, when he was sentenced to 5 years and a year probation. He served none of that time. He was arrested again in February of 1974 and was given 5 years probation, and also a court order that he get some counseling.
This is called a habitual offender.
This is called escalating.
Did you know this?
Yeah.
Habitual. Multiple times. There are many states that have like a minimum of 10 years for habitual offenders just because we gave you 3 fucking chances. 3 strikes, you're out. It is the easiest rule. Okay.
Right? Like
You get
all of the
3
serial
fucking
killers
chances.
that we've covered so far have been all
Yes.
earlier in times when they've made these mistakes over and over and over again.
And if
How
you
many
would have just
times
left
was
him in
Jeffrey
jail.
Dahmer fucking arrested?
Jesus Christ.
Sorry. That's our rant of the episode, guys.
That will not be the
Yeah,
last.
I was going to say one of several, but ridiculous. So he's arrested in succession this many times, and they're just like, get some counseling. We're going to put you on probation for longer. During all of this, in 1973, Randy was drafted by the Green Bay Packers. He signed his contract in February of 1974 and would get $16,000 for the season. He was on
That is
cloud
a big deal.
9.
This is a huge deal to American listeners. He was on the
folk
fucking
like me.
Green Bay Packers. Like, I mean, actually he wasn't, but he was supposed to be on the Green Bay Packers. Like,
Right?
that's
He
huge.
could have had it all. He just had to keep it in his
could
pants.
have. Literally, he just had to keep his fucking pants on.
Sorry, I started singing Adele in my head, but I was changing the words. I'm sorry. I'm really hyper right now. He just should have kept it in his pants. He felt like he was somebody again, but this fame wouldn't last long. They dropped him almost as quickly as they picked him up.
They dropped him as quickly as he dropped his fucking pants. Like, dude.
I didn't even mean to set you up that well. Well done. They never gave a straight answer as to why he was dropped from the team, but it probably has something to do with Randy being a perf, like Sierra said.
Yeah, nobody
dropping
wants
his
the
pants.
press. That's awful. That
And
looks
that's
so
not
bad.
good press. That's not like,
No.
oh, he blew his first paycheck on a race car and is like driving it down the street. No, he's just disgusting.
Disgusting.
Randy went back to Portland but didn't enroll in college again. He was feeling like a failure and started working part-time at tending bar and moved in with a friend from college named Tim Rossi. By 1975, the Portland police found themselves looking for a man that had held several women at gunpoint and forced them to get him off. I'm sure we can all guess who that was, and he was escalating. Police did stakeouts, and female officers went undercover in hopes of catching him. And on March 5th, 1975, they did. Randy
Oh, wait, they did?
Yeah.
I thought this was a serial killer. Oh, but of course. He gets out again.
Yeah, right?
Again.
Another slap on the wrist.
Oh.
He stated his name and that he was a student at the Portland College, which at this point he wasn't. He pled guilty in order to receive a lesser charge and was ordered to discuss his issue with a state-appointed psychologist, since he didn't honor his orders to get counseling before.
But he'll do it this time.
Yeah, well, he
It's
has
different.
to at this point, but yeah, ridiculous. They didn't just trust that he was going to do it himself this time. The psychologist found that his detachment from the crimes was alarming, and the fact that he had used a knife and actually touched his victims at this point. So that's come a long way from just exposing yourself and running away.
Right. He used to just pull his pants down and look at their faces.
Yeah, now he's actually eliciting physical harm.
Ugh.
In June of 1975, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison for his crime, which he actually went to prison this time. During his first year, he worked in the prison dining room for 50 cents a day and took college classes and continued to practice extreme religion. He also wrote letters to past lovers of his, Ick, including Tracy Connors, who at this point was now married. Randy started to tell the prison doctors that he had accepted what he did, that he was sick, and that he wanted to seek help. He conned himself into an early release and promised that he would seek psychiatric treatment.
Isn't it gross when, like, fucking murderers and serial killers and really awful human beings go super religious and they're like, you know, God forgives all our sins, but then at the same time, people are mad at people for being gay, and it's like, God hates you. Like, don't you think that the murderers would be hated?
I think the
before the
murderers
gays
are for sure at the bottom of the God hate list. Like 100%. They gotta be at the bottom of the kill list. Like, those are the people that he hates the most, is the murderers. Full stop. So, quote, I've come to the point where I'm beginning to accept myself and to stop being a phony, end quote. He told staff psychologists, I know I have a problem and I want to keep on top of it at all times. I've learned to accept rejection from others, especially females. I don't take it personally anymore. It's taken me 27 years to grow up, but I'm making it now. I have an excellent family support system, and I used to be too ashamed to admit that I had a problem. But I found out in Reverend Beach's group that other guys have problems, and if they can overcome it, I can too.
So he found out in jail that he knows how to lie now.
Yeah, and that's like the worst bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
like, are you kidding me?
Big ol' lie.
Are you kidding me? Here's your ball
He's
of cheese
clenching his
as your
butt
reward
cheeks
for that presentation, sir.
He's clenching his butt cheeks on the polygraph test. That's
exactly. What's happening. I forgot about that. I'm like, ew, don't talk about his butt cheeks. After spending some time getting treatment, he was recommended for a work release program. He continued to bartend and pick up women at every opportunity. A friend
Bartending seems like the absolute worst work release, right?
Who signed off on this?
Of all the things you can have a job doing while in jail, right? Like, bartending?
Sorry. Like, I feel like there's got to be parameters in place now. It's like, you can work at a newspaper plant and copy prints, but you can't serve alcohol. Like, come on. And pick up women on your shift. Like, this isn't a big deal that you're just
he's drinking too.
Offender. Oh, for sure he's drinking.
Yeah.
A friend had said that he had not seen him ever with the same woman twice. His favorite pickup method was boasting that he had been a Green Day Packer. But not really. But none of these women know anything about football, much like myself. And they're like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
He's playing it up. Between July 1979 and March 1981, Randy moved so often that it was hard for his parole officer to keep up with him. He jumped from woman to woman and changed jobs often. All of his behavior was described as desperate and sad. When he was released from prison in July of 1979, he had followed 2 women on the I-5 freeway. He would pass them and then pull back, trying to get their attention. Eventually he did, and they rolled down the window asking if he wanted to go swimming with them. He would end up dating and living with one of these women. Her name was Moira. That relationship lasted until November of that year. They had a fight and Randy moved out. But not before he gave her herpes, which she forgave him for. But eventually his other erotic behavior became too much. He continued to move from job to job and was fired from one bar called the Fawcett Tavern within 2 weeks. From the Fawcett Tavern. And within 2 weeks, $3,000 had disappeared from the till. Who would be disgruntled and have access and knowledge of where they keep this money? Word got around that he was the one who had done it. He even told one of his friends. However, it couldn't be proven. He had a tough time getting another job at a bar in the area, though, because of this. He took up a job at a pizza place and moved out of his sister's house and into a rental place. He continued to write women that he had dated previously and send them nude photos of himself.
He's so fucking weird.
I
Like, he just needs people to see him naked? Like, what the hell is wrong with him?
Constant admiration.
But they're not admiring him.
But he thinks,
Even
look
the
at how
people
good I
who
look
he-
in this photo. They're going to open it and that pleases me. Like, that they're going to be like, oh, I look good in this photo.
They're not. They're like, what the fuck is this fucking creep sending me dick pics
They're
for?
opening the card and they're going, ah!
It's the fucking 70s of dick pics. It's ridiculous. Don't do that.
Oh my god. It's not good. But he thought he looked good. He thought he looked so good, in fact, that he looked like the models in Playgirl. And he applied to be featured in a centerfold. He was selected and asked to send in a photo that would eventually be featured. I didn't see anywhere if it ever actually was, though.
No, those fucking publishers were like, look at this fucking idiot who used to almost be a Green Bay Packer. I bet we can get a dick pic. Haha.
Right. Well, he's mailing them out willingly anyway, so
Yeah.
it wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
He started dating a 17-year-old girl, named Lucy. He said that they were in love and he moved in with her, which he was 27 at the time, so that's cool. This was in September of 1980. Randy Woodfield came across as being cool, calm, and collected, but he would continue to escalate. While dating Lucy, he met 17-year-old Julie Ritz at the Fossert Tavern one night. He pursued her for some time, and they did go out one night. They went back to her house where she lived with her mom, and her mom wasn't home, but she did have a friend come over and hang out with them. After getting the girls drunk, they fell asleep together in Julie's bed, much to Randy's disappointment, and he retired to the couch. At first, Julie did really like Randy, but she found out that he was not single and living with and dating Lucy. His relationship with Julie had fizzled out, and in the fall of 1980, Lucy suggested that they should date other people, and that crushed Randy. He was not the only one experiencing heartache, though. His friend Tim Rossi and his girlfriend Darcy Fix had just broken up. Darcy had told Tim that she had found somebody else. Tim was obviously devastated by this and confided in his friend, not knowing that his friend was a woman-hating homicidal maniac. In November of 1980, the bodies of Darcy Fix and her new boyfriend, Doug Altick, were found in her Portland apartment. They had been shot execution style.
Damn, he took the new boyfriend too?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Right? He's like, what the fuck did I get in the middle of? Tim found out about Darcy's death while on the phone with Randy. He was completely shocked. He asked police about the gun that he had gifted her for protection, and he didn't know how this could have happened. The police never found a gun in their search. Randy had taken it after murdering the couple, and he would use it in his reign of terror down the I-5 freeway.
Jesus.
Darcy would not be the only woman that Randy knew to turn up dead suddenly. A woman named Sherry Ayers was found bludgeoned and stabbed. Even though the blood type obtained in the rape kit didn't match Randy's, and he was eliminated as a suspect, many people still believed that he could possibly be responsible. He visited Sherry several times before she was murdered, which is how his name was brought up as being a suspect in the first place. But technically her death still remains unsolved to this day. Randy continued his obsessive pursuit on women. He would call and write old girlfriends and continue to meet up with other girls in bars he visited. Quote, Randy's approach to women was so frenzied that he turned most of them off. They rolled their eyes at each other when he wasn't looking and called him a weirdo in giggling whispers. He skipped vital steps in forming relationships. His greediness showed. Just as men, even in the sexual revolution of the 80s, find little value in women who are too easy, even marginally sophisticated females found Randy as transparent as a male dog in rut. So just desperation oozing out of this guy. It's not cute. It's not a good look.
No, it's the fucking, douchebag of the 80s. Like, you might be cute, but your personality says a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It does work on some people, though. On December 30th, 1980, a few days after Randy's 30th birthday, he met Shelley Jansen, a smart girl with a heart of gold, and she was also a sucker for romance. She was beautiful and just shy of 22. She was out with a friend at a bar called O'Callahan's, and she and Randy had chatted in the back corner all night. She was a hopeless romantic, and Randy came on way too strong. She didn't know, though, that that's how he approached all women, and she was already in love. Shelley had just been visiting her friend to ring in the new year, but spent her last few days with Randy before she had to go back to school in New Mexico. The lovebirds called each other and wrote each other as often as possible. They exchanged I love yous and planned a weekend trip in San Francisco for the weekend of January 30th. On his way to meet Shelley in San Francisco, he began a road trip of horrors, robbing fast food restaurants along the I-5, assaulting young women that worked at these establishments, and then getting back on the highway before the police even had time to react to the calls. I'm going to give another trigger warning here because this involves children. On January 14th, 1981, he stopped through Corvallis, Oregon. Randy walked up to the house and knocked on the door, and a little girl named Mary Sue Green answered the door. I know, I'm sorry. He told her that he had to come in and use the phone because his car had broken down. She was obviously apprehensive and didn't want to let him in, but he walked right by her. He proceeded to sexually assault Mary Sue and her 9-year-old sister Megan. The attack on the Green sisters was unlike his usual MO, but it suggests that he was feeling out of control and really needed to instill some fear and trauma on these poor girls. I will leave out the details as they are really young girls, but it is outlined in the I-5 Killer by Ann Rule, which was a large portion of where our information came from, so you can read it for yourself. In true horror movie fashion, he cut the phone line prior to entering the house and unscrewed the porch light bulb so that he couldn't be seen in good light when the door was answered. Unfortunately for future Randy, he underestimated these little girls, and they saw him perfectly. That they would play a big part in identifying him later.
This is why ring doorbells are important. Peepholes, all those things. Don't open your fucking door if you don't know who it is. Like, right? They can push their way through. Don't even fucking open it.
Right? Unless you're carrying a bag of takeout.
So
I'm not answering the door. If you got a package, leave it on the step.
Yeah, there is a button now on fucking DoorDash, contactless delivery. Leave my food and walk away, okay? I do not need to talk to you.
That's true. The less I have to talk to people, the better. I know this is funny coming from two people that host a podcast, but I think that if Sierra and I could just remain indoors at all times, other than a hike in the wilderness, we probably would.
Yeah, a solo, like, not solo, but like people-less hike. Right. I'm not going there to like make friends on the trail. Don't fucking talk to me if you see me out and about, okay? It's weird.
But we love all of you guys so much. Thank you for listening.
Yes, just text me. That's all. Nothing else. Nothing else.
You're just going to get a message one day at a coffee shop. Are you at Starbucks on this?
That's fine. I might wave to you from afar, but you don't have to come up to me, okay?
I just have this like mental image of me having a front porch one day where people could actually knock on, and as soon as I see people coming, like dropping to the floor and just like, I'm not home. Because I've done that before as a kid.
The giant window that's right next to my front door, it terrifies me. Like, on one hand, I can see whoever's at my door. On the other hand, they can also see me.
You.
Yeah.
It's a real catch-22.
Yeah.
But yes, it's just terrifying that he did that. And that brings us to the start of our story. in the attack against Beth Wilmot and Sherry Hull just 4 days later. After the Transamerica Title Building attack and murder, Randy walked into the Vancouver skate. What is it called? I just wrote into the Vancouver. It's a skating rink.
Isn't it like skate and bowling or something? Maybe I'm mixing up another one.
I think you are. It was just a skating rink. But, sorry guys. Into the Vancouver skating rink wearing a false beard and ski gloves. He pulled out a silver revolver and took all of the cash from the register, ordering the cashier and a group of 12-year-old boys there celebrating a birthday party not to look at him. Just sprinkling trauma everywhere he goes. On January 26th, he robbed the Dairy Mart in Eugene. The 23-year-old female clerk described the man as wearing a brown suede or corduroy jacket with a hood and sheepskin lining and a bandage over his nose.
Is there anything more 80s than that?
I know. Right? I got the mental image right away. And funny enough, I'm pretty sure I have a jacket that's similar to what they just described.
Yeah.
The weekend of January 30th had arrived. And Randy was in San Francisco waiting for his girlfriend Shelley to arrive. They did all of the sightseeing and they called it their love boat trip. They continued to get to know each other. Randy told her about his Green Bay Packers days and even shared some of his criminal offenses with her.
Days. Like he actually did anything with the team.
Yeah. I know,
he did nothing.
I know.
He was signed.
It's
that was
the
it.
Only flex he has, though. Okay, Sarah?
Yeah. Didn't he even only go to like one fucking practice
or something?
Like,
yeah.
He didn't even train with them.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, he did go to like one practice, and like it was embarrassing. I remember him being hard on himself. Yeah. Notice how we don't care, and that's not included in these notes. But he really cares, Sierra. It's his only flex.
Goodness.
She was surprised by this, obviously, but got over it relatively quickly. All she saw in front of her was a loving man determined to have a better future with her. He asked her to marry him that weekend, and she said yes.
Ugh.
The weekend ended too soon for Shelley, and she hated that she had to go home to New Mexico and back to school. Randy dropped her off at the airport and then started his drive to Portland. He said that he would check in with her at payphones along the way and let her know when he was home safe. He would also be visiting his sister along the way through Mount Shasta, but also continuing his road trip of terrors. On February 3rd, Randy entered a Burger Express in Shasta County, wearing a windbreaker, a wool cap, faded jeans, and blue gloves. 18-year-old Leah Morris looked up to take his order and saw that he was pointing a silver revolver at her. 46-year-old Marie Sloan was in the kitchen, and Randy had positioned himself so that he had eyes on both of them. Mary told Leah to take all of the money from the register and hand it to him, but Randy wasn't just there for the money. He ordered Marie to lead him with Leah to the bathrooms. He ordered Marie to kneel on the toilet where he bound her wrists and ankles and taped her mouth. He ordered Leah to take off all of her clothes and fondled Marie while he waited, and then made her face the door. He got Leah to jerk him off but couldn't finish, attempted anal sodomy, and when that didn't work, oral sex. He was frenzied and absolutely pathetic. The women remember thinking that he was going to shoot them both. But everyone was surprised to hear Marie's husband. He had come by to the shop to check on her. Randy heard him on the other side of the bathroom door and yelled that it was busy. He opened the door, gun on Mr. Sloan, ordered him into the bathroom, closed the door, and made a break for it. And just hours later, Randy Woodfield would commit another disturbing and tragic crime. Dave Komanek was certain that the silver revolver that Mary Sue had described their attackers using was the same one that was used to shoot Beth and Sherry. During the investigation, Dave Komanek put out a teletype request for crimes similar in the area in the surrounding states, with that type of MO he used in the attacks against the Green sisters and Beth and Sherry. The next day, they got a call from the Reading Police Department. On February 3rd, the Reading Police were investigating a double homicide at the house of one of their very own firefighters, Steve Eckerd. His wife, Donna Lee Eckerd, and their 14-year-old daughter, Janelle, had been shot and killed. His youngest daughter, 12-year-old Krista, had stayed late at a school event that day and had come home to find their lifeless bodies.
Why is it always two women?
I know. Janelle was found face down on the master bed, nude. Her face was covered in blood. Her mother was next to her with her nightgown pulled down so that her breasts were exposed, and her wrists and her ankles were bound with white tape. Krista called 911, but it was too late. Her mom and her sister had died. The autopsy recovered 9 bullets that had come from a .32 caliber handgun, and there was no evidence that Donna Lee had been sexually assaulted other than her breasts being exposed, but Janelle had been. Krista arrived home shortly after the killer had left. They know this because rigor mortis and lividity in the bodies hadn't set in yet, which is incredibly haunting to think about.
Yeah.
And that is where we are going to end part 1, because I think that is enough for one day.
Oh, my goodness.
Friendly reminder that if you enjoy the show, to leave a 5-star rating and review for us, because it makes reading all of these horrible things much easier on our souls to know that you guys are enjoying it. And it's the best way to spread the word, so we appreciate it.
This guy is the worst.
He is the absolute worst. That can be in your review. Love Alecia and Sierra. Randy Woodfield is the worst. The end.
Yeah.
But thank you guys again. Before we get to next week's episode, Sierra, what day is it today?
Today is March 7th, and I did look for something that happened on this day that would be a little uplifting and interesting, but instead, I wanted to actually tell you a little happy story that I read.
Oh, I love this idea.
I was thinking maybe we'll start doing this. I don't know. You guys let us know if you'd rather have the...
like a little happy palate cleanser at the end.
Right. Because sometimes things that happened on this day is not that happy.
Well,
and so maybe we should just have a happy thing.
That happen
Do you remember when a long time ago, I think I've talked to you about this on a Bitch and Wine episode before, a long time ago when we were in high school, there was a website called fml.com, and it was Fuck My Life. There was also a website shortly after that called gmh.com, Gives Me Hope. Well, givesmehope.com is not a thing anymore, and I even checked Reddit. r/FML is a thing, r/GMH is not. And I really want to bring that back, and so that's what I'm trying to introduce into the end of these episodes.
Really funny. That's
definitely.
I went down a memory lane there. Holy shit.
We thrived so much on the FMLs that all of life is FML now. Every movie, every meme, every post on Twitter, it's all shitty things that are happening. And I miss the Gives Me Hope stuff.
Yeah. So I'm have a little glimmer of hope for us here, Sierra?
I do. I am going to read you something that gives me hope.
Okay.
This is it's actually a Reddit post on r/off my chest, but it was turned into a meme. It's by u/lizard_windowpane. And it says,
excellent name.
There's an engagement ring hidden in my house right now. It says, my boyfriend and I were on our phones looking through email. He was trying to find a confirmation for a thing we're doing tomorrow, but couldn't. I grabbed it and went to type something in the search to bring it up, and I got a glance of an email from an engagement ring company with the subject, order confirmation in his updates inbox. I froze, he froze, and then I proceeded to pretend like I hadn't seen it. So a few minutes later, we're on the couch and we both just start kind of giggling and couldn't stop. And he was like, "Why are we laughing?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he was like, "But you do know," which led to more laughter because we both obviously knew. And then I asked if it was here. He nodded, and then I asked if it was hidden. He nodded, and then I asked if we could play the hot or cold game, and he said absolutely not. So that's how my evening is going. I'm utterly giddy and so impatient. I love him so much, and this isn't a surprise because we regularly discuss the fact that we're going to be married as soon as it's financially possible, but having the actual ring here feels so cool. I can't wait to say yes.
Oh,
and that story gives me hope.
Tear up. Oh my God. That's the cutest damn thing I've ever heard. I love love. Oh, that hit me straight in the feels. Well, thank you for that. I think we all needed it. We will see you guys next week for part 2. We love you. Thank you for listening. If you have something that gives you hope, send that in and maybe we can share it next week.
Yes.
And in the meantime,
keep it twisted.
Thank you for listening to Twisted and Uncorked podcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening now. It really is the best way to spread the word. You can also check out all of our sources and materials, as well as photos for the episode, on our website at twistedanduncorked.com. And you can follow us on social media at Twisted and Uncorked or Twisted_pod on Twitter. Thank you so much for all of your love and support, and we will see you next Tuesday for a brand new episode. Cheers!